You guys hear me okay? Is it mic placement? How's that? Everybody hear me? You come to the speakers? Okay, good. Well, guys, thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen, to a very late session at ZertoCon. You guys having a good time so far? Learning something? I know why you're all here, right? Cash prizes, right? You all heard about it, right? It's going to be at the end. I know that I am the last piece between you and seeing Mr. Peyton Manning. So, for those that don't know me, my name is John Fisher. I'm a global sales engineer. And what does that mean? It means I work on global accounts, the big accounts for Zerto. I've been here for close to 4 years, coming up on 4 years actually this December. The global account program started a few years back with my counterpart Brandon Lanier and a few other sales reps, and we went after taking a more consultative approach than the commercial side of things, which was we go in and we listen to these large accounts and try to understand effectively how they're doing Zerto, what effectively differently they might be able to do with the platform. Okay? And that's what I'm going to talk about today. You know, we're going to talk about some of these fringe use cases. Is kind of okay? Okay. These fringe use cases with Zerto. So, well, we kind of have to lay the groundwork, right? We know with Zerto, we kind of introduced this new era of DR and backup, right? But the reality is that we've kind of been doing backup for a long time, right? 86% of restores come within 72 hours of the data being new. So what does that mean, right? We spend a lot of this big budget ticket item on that thing on the right. So when people say, are we doing backup? We're not doing backup in the classic sense, or the legacy backup sense, but we're going to be able to have these longer term retention buckets, you know, the data domains and the exagrids, the CIFs, the NFS bounds. These are all just compliance topics, things we have to kind of check the box. But the reality is that we've been doing, you know, the focal point of data protection and restoration for a long time. When I first started at this company 3.5 years ago, my boss said, "You need to get your ticket to Jamaica." I said, "Jamaica, what's that?" I said, "Well, that's where sales kickoff is." I said, "I'm never leaving this place. This is the greatest company in the world." And at Jamaica, we were on version 4.5. And at that time, the journal lasted about 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks retention. And I remember I met this guy named Rob Strechay. Maybe you've heard of him. He was senior vice president of product. And he came on stage, had these bright red pants. I was like, who is this guy? And he had just started as well. And I pulled him aside after in one of his presentations and said, we got to talk about this journal. I was like, how do we get it to 30 days? He's like, "John, you're the 12th person to come up to me and tell me that." So we said, okay, how are we going to do this? And he said, it's coming. So in the next iteration, they extended that journal out for 30 days. And what did that really do? It bought us a bigger price of the conversation, allowed us to have a different conversation than just DR. It allowed us to go into the backup space and say, hey, we're not going to replace your backup, Mr. Kustenberg. We're going to augment those processes. Let's think a little bit different about how we're going to store that information. So with Zerto, you know, we do a lot of different things, right? We talk about DR, we talk about doing things in terms of restoration, that's the big focus, but you hear that term resilience, you heard Zeev say that, and being resilient doesn't just mean going up and restoring our data, it means being resilient from a proactive perspective too, and that's what some of these use cases today I'm going to talk about, okay? So, what we do on the global account side, we go in with our customers and we sit there and we consult. We have 2 or 3 day meetings and we listen to what they're doing today. And you heard Zeke talk about all the different software processes, the tools take out. This is taken from one of our customers who said, here's our 3 buckets of areas of focus from the IT initiative standpoint. Here's all the tools that do all of these things. And maybe you'll recognize some of these. The laser's not working, but for what we need to do, how we need to simplify, we said, great, no problem. Zerto can do all of this. And so we are. We're walking through that, right? Imagine collapsing all that thing down and putting it all into one platform. That's what Zerto can do, right? And we do this through mapping processes and looking at efficient ways to do things through, you know, not just the infrastructure team or not just the database team, right? It's all of the operational things within IT. So, but if I boil it down, we really do 2 things really, really well with Zerto. We move data from a data mobility perspective better than anybody. I'll put it bar none to any synchronization component out there. Near sync, you know, full sync, it doesn't matter. We have the capability to move that data very, very well. And then the second side of that is the copy data management. And you hear a lot of this from a capacity standpoint, right? What am I going to actually do with this data, right? With data being the backbone of kind of this digital transformation that we see going on in the industry, we've got to treat it in a sense that allows us to apply the business processes in a fast, rich way. You hear the idea of fast equals slow, right? That's the premonition for 21st century business, right? So, as we get into some of these use cases, the first one's patching, right? We all know Patch Tuesday is like from a Microsoft management standpoint, but it applies across the board, right? So keeping the capability to look at, being able to patch the system and not have it fail after the patch, right? So this is a problem for one of our big, large customers, right? They had security and OS level software patching at monumental task, right? A big team that had to go out there and do this. The operational time to implement that and keep up with it was just insane. And then they had a risk vector if they actually did apply the patch and it caused an issue. So what they did is they actually have a standby system, an actual 100% copy of the system next to it, running CPU, storage, memory, everything, just to patch and test to see if it works. It's a huge cost. We said, wait a minute. I think we might be able to do this faster. What if we could spin up an on-demand copy of this in a secure runtime environment? That would help. Would that help? It might, right? That's what we did, right? So we created this on-demand copy that can test the patches, make sure they work, spin them back down. Concept, right? So all these use cases that are within this discussion today, they're nothing different operationally than what you guys are doing within Zerto, right? You're able to spin it up, you're able to do lots of interesting things with that data, and spin it back down. So, ransomware, right? The bad news. We're hearing all about this all the time. This is something we really focused on in terms of last year from a marketing standpoint, right? The concept is, we know this is happening out there. We know this is a big security risk vector. How can we roll back in time, make sure that this doesn't happen, right? You guys have seen some of these things. Our journal is going to provide a point-in-time copy, roll back in time right before the ransomware, everything got encrypted, which is fine. And that's a great use case, right? We're all familiar with said journal and how it works, right? Anybody not familiar with the journal? Good. So we roll back in time right before that encryption happens, and we get the data, and it's no longer encrypted. Well, great. And that's awesome. But the reality is that malware could have been sitting on there for quite some time. Right, Tom?
Right.
That's right. So I call that as we get into the next slide that's coming up soon. So what happens when we bring that system back online, we get the data, but that malware is still there? It's not being compliance checks, not being security checks. So that kind of leads into this kind of data forensic conversation, right? So the CISO wants to know that this system is secure, that when I do bring it back online, it's in a state that's compliant, right? So after security breach, one of our customers needed a process to analyze potentially infected data, right? We needed a secure zone to make sure this is in a good spot. But after that data, the runtime stayed clear, and the data retrieval is then done. So then we can go back and get to a clear state, right? So the Zerto solution, right? Point-in-time recovery, right? Nothing different here, right? But this is all applicable to how you use the platform. So, our friend Tom, over here, will be actually here after the session to answer some questions, but he was able to recover a database that got infected with a virus, right? The recoverability of the database, he had forensics that had determined the virus, where it came from, where it actually came from, that the system was offline, disabled the AD user account, recovered the database before the attack actually happened and the company even opened. He was able to do the forensics on it, clear the system, and get it in a good, clean state. And that's great, right? So we could just roll back in time right before it happened, but we have to have that check. We have to have that compliance. We have to make sure from a security standpoint this system is state that we can actually continue forward and feel good about it, right? And that's really what this kind of secure test zone is, right? Does this feature look different to anything than a test failover? It's not, except we're securing this zone and we're applying it into a security model that allows for us to do this type of testing, to run these these penetration conversations and all the things against the system to make sure it meets that compliance. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this was a post-breach, right? So after this happened, Tom had to go back in, check the system, make sure it was in a good state, put it, run all his scans again, and get it back online before the business opened. That's very reactive. But think about it from a proactive standpoint. What can we do to make sure that this system's running and is tested and validated before everything comes back online, before we're able to do the recovery, before we're in a reactive mode. Think about proactive capabilities, spinning things up with our API at scale. All your systems in a state where you're penetrating against it, you're doing your vulnerability scanning, you're doing your pen testing, you're doing your risk assessment, your security auditing. All of those things can be combined into a security compliance platform to go in and actually ethically hack against these systems at scale utilizing the Zerto platform. Right? Make sense? Okay. What's that?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I can see it working.
Me too. I can show you it's working. We can show you the demonstration of it as well. So one of the last use cases we'll discuss today is something that we called a hot backup. But really this was an on-demand copy for a customer that was kind of legacy system that they virtualized from AIX onto Red Hat Rail. Heavy I/O transaction environment, customer-facing information, something that was very important to the C-level, right? And with that, they needed a way to make sure to get backed up, and they needed a way to report against it in an effective manner. So the solution was create an on-demand copy of it, right? Spin up basically into that secure, safe zone, then actually run the backup job, send it off-site, and then use that component of the data for the reporting or for the business intelligence. So think about it, the production system was so active, it was so busy, that we couldn't even run a good backup against it. We couldn't even run a reporting against it to get the data out of it. So what do? No problem. We create an on-demand copy that's 9 to 12 seconds behind in terms of the current production set, all through our API driven from an automatic perspective. Bring it up, run the backup, get it off-site, and then run our reporting against it. So what's it? So Zerto, in this instance, is actually enabling another backup program to work because effectively it was a snapshot technology that was crashing the production system. So I thought about it, wait, so I'm selling a software that does data protection that gets another data protection software to work effectively. Something didn't make sense. So I think we're talking to these guys about long-term retention and what we can do with Zerto 7. Yeah, you bet. But it's an interesting process. So with that, one of the last slides we have here today is the hot backup process. So if we look at this is an all automated process that these guys do. And they insert Zerto in our APIs within this process to get that. And it's kind of walks, so it's hard to see. It's an eye scratcher. We'll have it from a download perspective. But it gives you an eye look into what you can do at scale from an automation standpoint and how you can spin up these copies of data for on demand. And it all boils down to compliance, right? And how many copies of the data you want. We talk a lot about capacity on demand. We do a lot of analysis with some of our customers. One of our customers has an average of 6 copies of their data, separate dispersed systems. When we talk about the nirvana of capacity, it really is kind of baseline plus 2, right? So 3 total, maybe a local, maybe a remote, maybe one remote and another one sitting in the cloud somewhere, right? But having 6 or 7 copies of the data is expensive. If we can reduce that copy down to 5 or 4 at scale, it's a lot of monies and dollars to be saved. So, with that,
hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
Alex, either way, that'll work too.